All right, so let's start. Okay. Okay, let me just start by asking a question from somebody, right? So I can see Karthik Anand, you joined as the first person in the class.
Yes, sir.
You're there?
Hello.
Are you there? Karthik Anand,
Hello.
you can hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Okay, so you tell me what is the difference between thread and process?
Sir, a thread.
Be little louder
Actually,
here. I can't hear you.
actually, a thread, a process contains threads.
Okay, good.
So, yes, sir.
But what's the
and
difference
the
more than that, right?
yes, sir. And the processes are like more secure than threads because
Y-
threads
y-
have access to the uh, data of each other, while the processes cannot access each
Mhm.
other's processes. I mean, they can access, but uh, it's kind of difficult. It's too easy for threads
Okay, all
to
right, okay,
access each other's data, and they can also like they're difficult to code because they can
okay.
their stacks can intersect and they can
Good, 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 good. So, okay, good. Thank you. Okay, so let's begin what we want to do today. So these are the content. These are of course same set of resources I've used. Uh, okay, so this we have studied and several times. Okay. This diagram again shows another depiction of thread. That thread has something that's private, which is nothing but this part, and something that is not private, which is common across all threads in a process. This one, right? And then we can depict basically same code is being executed in different threads, and then of course different parts of that code may be executed in different threads. Only then it can do meaningful job. Okay, and then we have to do this programming, thread programming, very carefully. Okay, and we have looked at this diagram wherein the single process with multiple threads, and here at the bottom we have multiple processes, multiple threads. Of course, there are only 3 threads shown here. It could be any number. Okay, okay, all right. And this we have seen that when a process is created, the OS creates this process image, or we call it memory image, or sometimes we also call core image. Okay, and then it creates heap, stack, and data area, and then this code area. So this structure is created at the runtime. Okay, and then if we have multiple threads, then it creates multiple stacks, because all other things apart from that, like heap, data, and code are the common. Okay, all right. So only thread will contain data specific to that particular thread. Okay, which is nothing but various variables or return values and all that, right? And and of course, thread some data is also there in thread control block, which is different values of register when it moved out. So both, if you look at TCB, and TCB also contains open file and all that, file descriptor, etc. And then this thread, this stack for the thread completely defines a thread. So it completely defines the state of the thread. All right. So this diagram we have also seen, and then yesterday we discussed this. The thread can be implemented totally in the user space. So user is responsible for managing the thread. So it will create thread control, thread table, or thread TCB. Uh, okay, or and however processes are managed in kernel space. So process table or PCBs are here. Okay, All right, so thread table or TCB is here, which is managed by runtime library. So runtime library manages threads and kernel is not aware of the thread. Okay, now it's a very complex thing, but it works out. Earlier systems used to use that, but for last 15-20 years this model is being used, which is kernel managed threads. Okay, so each thread, whenever a process or it whenever process creates a thread or the first creates multiple threads, then it makes a system call to OS and OS creates thread. And also OS manages these threads, I mean, basically context switching or moving them in, moving them out, or killing the thread. And also killing the thread, of course, happens by various mechanisms, but OS is responsible for doing the cleanup. Okay, all the resources allocated to thread are released, or like thread, the stack in process image is removed when thread goes off, right? Okay, this we have all studied in the last class. This is another diagram that we have used when we do thread management in kernel. Okay, now this is the one I have introduced now. See, note that thread shared the code. Okay, they run the same code, they use the same heap, they use same global variables. Okay, so once a thread forks another thread or creates another thread, the relationship between two is that of peer. We don't create hierarchy like we do in case of process. Okay, so when somebody asks you this question, difference between thread and process, you may also, apart from whatever points we discuss, you can also say that threads are all have peer relationship. So what happens in case of process when a process forks another process, then the code is duplicated, right? The address space is different. Here the address space is same here. Okay, all right. So all right, so a child of a thread is also peer to the thread. Okay, think it. Okay, all right. Then we have thread libraries. Okay, so thread libraries run at usually at user space. Okay, and then we have studied it yesterday. So so there are various kind of thread libraries, okay, which are in use. POSIX thread, the pthread library, and these provide APIs to users, right? So now how it is implemented is not really important to users, okay, because different OSs underneath may implement it differently. Because different OSs may have different system calls. Okay, they may have different way of management of this thread, but as long as the top level APIs are the same that are accessible to user, it doesn't matter to user, right? Okay, and so most common thread library is called pthread library, which is part of Linux, Unix, and Mac OS. All right, so we will look at some aspects of pthread library, but we don't have enough time to go into great detail of each and every API. So we'll look at only 3 or 4 APIs and do, so you can do some programming around it. And if you're interested, you can read. These are all not very complex. Okay. So we'll today we'll spend some time, maybe another 20 minutes or 30 minutes on pthread library and some APIs around it, right? So this is pthread library or POSIX library. Okay. Okay, and it provides API to users, which they can use. Any user can use. Now this these APIs are of course implemented in thread library. So these APIs are available to user, provided by thread library, and user can use it. Okay, now the kernel could be any kernel, right? It could be say for example Linux or Mac OS or Windows, or maybe Android, or any real-time OS, RTOS. So whatever be the kernel, this thread library implementation will differ. Okay, to meet the whatever is defined underneath in any of these operating systems, right? But on top, the APIs that are provided, which are called POSIX APIs, are the same, right? So the APIs are POSIX API, thread libraries, pthread library. Okay. So POSIX standard, which was defined by IEEE 1003.1.c, some around say 18 years back, 18 to 20 years back, defines thread interface called pthreads, right? Okay, so Linux and Unix provide pthread library. All right, and APIs to create and manage threads. It's nothing but okay, this library, the implementation library is dependent on the vendor who's developing it, right? So pthread library for example Mac OS could be different, because Mac OS has some features different from Linux. So it made so each vendor of OS has to create a pthread library which is specific to that particular OS. And OS of course is dependent on underneath hardware. Okay, all right. So it's a collection of C functions, and it's around 60 plus functions, right? So 60 plus APIs are there. All right. Okay. All right. So since 2003, kernel version 2.6, POSIX threads are kernel is scheduled threads. Okay, these are not user scheduled thread. We discuss user scheduled threads or user threads primarily because of you still may find some OS that implements it that way, and most modern OSs of course use kernel scheduled threads, but there may be some functions which are handled by in user space. So right now, so discussion now onwards, you assume that threads are implemented in kernel. Any question up to this point? Okay, let's go ahead. Okay, are you sure there is no question? Okay, all right. So we'll look at only few APIs today, right? Actually, not all of these even. So pthread create is the one which we'll use. Okay, this creates a thread. Okay, we'll go into detail of this. Okay, it's like a fork in case of process. The difference between fork and thread create, we have discussed it just now, that when thread is created, same user, same address space is used, right? While in case of thread, even everything is copied. Okay, so threads are independent entities. Right here, when we create a thread, actually we create just a thread within the process. Okay, so a new thread is created here. So we'll discuss the way new thread is created. Then second is pthread join. It's very similar to process join. So a process may wait for other thread to complete, and then it gets the result from that particular thread which has completed. So so we have discussed yesterday in very brief about fork join abstraction, where a process a thread can fork number of threads, and then using join system call or pthread join, they can join together at a point, and then the main thread continues. Okay, or any thread can have pthread join, can run pthread join and specify some other thread number, and that thread has to complete. So it means the thread that makes a call pthread join will be blocked until the mentioned thread in the call or some other thread completes the execution. Okay, all right. Then we have a very simple API called pthread self, which is this can be used for thread to find out its own thread ID. Okay, so there may be times that the thread may not know it has been created, but it may not know what's its own ID. So it can use this. Then there are two ways to terminate a thread. First is, of course, a thread executes by itself, pthread exit. And a thread is running a program, and then there is an instruction called pthread exit. Then thread exits. Okay. Second is that little interesting. A thread that is running, say T1, can ask thread T2 to exit using this call called cancel. Okay, there are a lot of rules around it where it can call, and what are the entry points for this. So if you're interested, you can read about it. So we'll not use this system call, but that's very interesting where a thread can request other thread to die, okay, or complete execution. But there are scenarios where this API is useful. Okay, and then apart from that, there are we will study maybe next week or following week something called mutex. So basically mutex is like it's kind of semaphore. Okay, so if there is a portion of data or code, okay, that can be accessed only by one thread at a time, then we can define a lock here. So mutex is a lock mechanism. Okay, and such that only one thread that can set the lock can enter this region. So that ensures that thread this region, there's no inconsistency like we have seen earlier. There's no race condition. All right, so we'll study this concept little later, but I just want to mention that there are APIs corresponding to this one. Okay, mutex lock and unlock. Okay, similarly the condition can be set, and then reverse API for that. I mean pthread time or wait. Okay, so we will not go into these in details. We will primarily use pthread create and pthread join. Okay, any question?
So I have this question.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that pthread cancel asks the other thread to exit or terminate.
Mm-hmm.
So does it has the permission to exit itself, or does it ask
Yeah.
it
So
to
there's
exit?
very good question. Actually, we have I mentioned that there are a lot of conditions around it. So this thread has to set something such that it can be killed by somebody else. So there must be some parameter that it will set that it's killable. Does it sound
Okay,
crude? It sounds
Some
crude, right? But this is programming, right? So it has to allow somebody to execute that. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's go ahead. Okay. Have you gone through function pointers in your C programming course? Yes or no? Anybody who doesn't know what function pointer is? Can I assume that you know it? Okay, all right. So maybe I will just go through. I assume that you know it. Okay. Whole idea here is that, of course. By the way, not many people use this because there is alternative available, which is simple function call. Okay, but there is a provision in C that you can you can use, instead of calling a function, you can use a pointer to call the function. Okay, so we use the name of the function, but here you use a pointer which points to the starting instruction of the function. Okay, and then execution can start from there. Okay, all right. So function pointer, see, normally pointers we use to point to a data item. So most of programming that you have done, use pointer to create data structures, right? It basically points to a data item. But and then we know that in memory image we have code available. It's in main memory. Okay, and the code is here. This of course in machine language, executable form. Okay, then why not? These are all memory locations here. Why not you can use a pointer to point to an instruction? You can do that, right? So that's but however, pointing to a single instruction is meaningless. What do you do with it? But pointing to a function, a starting instruction of a function is useful. Okay, then you can use a whole function. Okay, so function pointer is a variable or parameter that points to a function. All right, so this is a basic concept. Okay, so now instead of calling a function with name, you can create a semantics where passing a pointer to function, the function can start execution. Okay, so in fact, if you, because you have done a course on CA, computer architecture, you know that functions names are internally translated into a pointer, right? When you say run a function, what do you do? I mean, you actually go to you from whatever point you go to instruction where this function starts, right? Or code corresponding to function. So there is absolutely no distinction between calling a function and passing a pointer and then creating semantics around it that start execution from that point. Right? So however, why we are discussing this is because the system call or API to create is using function pointers. Okay, so that's reason. So I would like you to go through this PPT. Okay, and then I will also send you some document around it. So you go through it and do some practice, you will understand how it works. So this is a simple example. You define a function pointer as follows, right? So fn is a pointer, okay, or function pointer. Okay, and the syntax is that when you put you're defining it here, right? Okay, so the fn is a function pointer, and then it returns integer. Okay, it returns wow, okay, all right, it returns integer. Okay, and it takes two arguments which are integers. This is one example. Okay. So we define function pointer f1 that can be initialized to any function. So this is a pointer, and you can define a function somewhere in your main memory area, or in runtime. What do you call that, process image? So there is a function called foo. Okay, so this pointer can point, this pointer fn or foo, let's assume foo is a pointer. So this pointer will point to this starting address of that function. Okay. Now, obviously, you have to define arguments to that. Okay, and then arguments you can define in this way. All right. So this simple example, we'll spend just few minutes and then we'll move ahead. Okay, then we'll use this function pointer in API. So consider this a very simple function. Sum integer x and y. There are two arguments to this function sum, and then returns type integer, return values of integer, and then does the summation of the two integer, right? Okay, so you say that somewhere in runtime or sometime in some place in process image, there is a routine called sum. Okay, so some machine instructions are corresponding to that. Now there is some address here from where it's starting. Now let fn, this is a function pointer, points to this, which is nothing but this operation. Okay. All right. So now from you, the fn will be an address where this is starting, as simple as that. So now if you use this function pointer, so you can say now instead of calling a function, you can say int x equal to this function pointer and two arguments and 12 and 10. So it will give the semantics of this is that it will give the same result as calling this function, earlier function, right here. All right. Okay. Any question? Okay, so I will suggest you to go through, see, pointer in general is confusing if, if you use in, complicated way. Okay, function pointer is rather more complicated because the syntax, this syntax is quite complicated, right? It's not easily, it's not very intuitive, right? You'll have to visualize it, think about it, and do programming. Okay, and there are alternatives available, so hence people use alternatives. Okay, all right. Okay, so sometimes when there is a typecast along with function pointer and structure, if put together, it sometimes becomes too complex to understand, right? How, nevertheless, you just need to go through it to understand it fully. So with this, let's come to pthread create. Okay, please try to visualize it, right? It becomes very simple then. So it has 4 parameters. Okay, all right. So of course, its value return is of integer type. Now first is a structure defined by thread. So thread is a structure. Okay, now very simple term, treat this structure as a thread number. Just structure as one element, which is thread number. Okay, so pthread type T is, you can think now as an integer, a positive integer, right? Okay, no negative value. So when this function is executed, OS has to create a thread number. Okay, that thread number will go into this variable. Okay, all right. Okay, now second, what is second one is? Second is some attributes you want to have for the thread. Now here we are assuming it's null. It means that we don't want to define any attribute. And if you want to know about attribute, please go into literature and find out how attribute can be defined for a thread. So at this moment, we are not defining any attribute. So we put it null. Okay. Now, so what we have said that when OS runs this API, it will create a thread, and information about that thread will be given in this structure. Right now, let's assume it's only OS will give thread number. Okay, but when thread is to be created, then it has to run a code. Okay, so unlike process, when process forks, the whole code is copied and PC value is also copied. So next instruction executed in case of piece, in case of process. Here, in case of thread, we have to define what part of the code constitutes the thread. Okay, so here we have to give the routine number. Start routine is a pointer to that routine where, or that function which becomes part of the thread. Okay, so here we use function pointer. So this is a function pointer. So it will read something like this. Okay, so we'll go through the text so it becomes more clear. The first parameter is a pointer to structure of type pthread t, which describes the thread. Fine, it describes the thread, means that the ID number, it will have some state. So right now we are only assuming it has only thread ID, and later on we'll elaborate on that. So OS will give that. Okay, second argument specify particular attribute of the thread that you may want to specify. So we normally don't want to specify anything, so it's a null. Okay, all right. Okay, third argument, which is here, specifies the entry point of the new thread that we have discussed, right? There's some function it has to run. Okay, so it gives the entry point. Okay, all right. So unlike processes or main program, right? In main program, entry point is always fixed. The first instruction, right? Wherein in thread, when we're creating thread, the entry point is not fixed. So you have to define what is the entry point. Okay. Okay, so here by this one, we are defining the entry point. So the thread that creates new thread must specify the function in which the new thread would start. All right, so the main thread, the first thread that's creating another thread, has to specify from where it has to start execution, right? So, or which function is part of that. You specify the function. So basically starting address of the function. So pointer that's passing, okay, will give the starting address of the function. Okay, so basically it's a specified function pointer which we discussed earlier, which is of type void star star void star. It means there's a pointer to a function. Of course, there is something will come here. A pointer to a function that takes void star as argument. Okay, null pointer, and returns a null pointer. Fine. Don't get too much into it. So we'll just remember that it mainly it is used to pass on a pointer to function that becomes a code for the thread. All right. Okay. Anything? Any question? Okay. So what we have discussed, three parameters. First thing, a thread wants to create another thread. Okay. Now OS, when it creates a thread, it will specify it, because OS creates a thread number, right? It creating thread, the first thread cannot say that thread number will this much. There may be conflicts. So OS will return the thread number and few other parameters in through the first parameter. So first parameter is used for that. Second parameter we don't use is null, because we don't want to specify right now what are the characteristics or attributes of created thread. Okay. Third is that we have to specify which function it will start execution. Okay, that's reason when we discussed some time back in last class, threads can do different activities. There can be main thread which can ask other thread to do some actions, right? Some activities like get a page from disk or do some computation, right? So now first thread can tell the second thread through this one what to do. Okay, and then when we execute this function, the second thread executes this function. Okay, then it has got to have some arguments. There must be way to specify. Every function has some arguments, right? If so, that is defined by the fourth parameter. Okay, all right. So these are the four parameters. And if it's successful, a thread is successful in creating another thread, then it returns 0. Because thread type, there is some thread type here, right? So the value becomes 0. If it is non-zero, it means that thread is not successful in creating thread, and then some error code, OS will pass on some error code as a return value. Okay, so now let's read this. The thread created by pthread creates, this API is runnable without requiring a separate start code. See, like in process, we needed the complete code. Okay, and it begins execution on the first line of the function routine provided in the third argument. Okay, this one. All right, so I hope it's clear now. Any question? Okay, so let's move ahead. We need to finish this today. So basically, this all we have discussed. Basically, when a function is called and function has in turn calls other function, then stacks, the frames of the stack will be created. This point we have already discussed several times, right? Like concept of frames. Why do you need? If the function calls another function, then you create, or there's a recursion, then we have frames. So now we have two threads now. Okay, and then we have two arrows. It means that arrow says that which instruction is in execution. Okay, all right. So now game starts. Concurrent execution of both thread begins. Okay, and then there is thread exit that we have already discussed, and thread join that we have also discussed. Okay, so now okay, then we have thread completion. Okay, which is by join or by exit, and similar to process we have zombie thread. Okay, if it's basically a thread has terminated by exit function call, not by join. Okay, it means that now this has become zombie. It means that information is available about the thread and it can be used in different ways, and once information is used, then OS can clean it up. Okay, so however, best ways of exiting or thread can exit is through join. Of course, I mean, it's involuntary, not really involuntary. I mean, thread has to exit, and then other thread will block on it. Then is a responsibility of other thread. Then it's very clear the thread has exited other thread, and then cleaning can happen by OS. Okay. Okay. So there is also a scenario where a thread can tell the library that will never join another thread. It's called pthread detach. Okay, all right. So basically, thread may decide not to join other thread. It's not forced to join, right? So using this system call can be used. So now we are not going to use this in our programming, but there may be scenarios where all these APIs are very useful. Okay, all right. So this we have already seen. We have create join, fork join, parallelism. Okay, all right. So now let's look at the example. Okay, I will send you code for this so you can execute it. So this is the main program. We defined a variable thread, which is a structure of pthread t type, and we said that we will have OS will give us thread number, so it's for that purpose. Okay, we define integer x is equal to 3, some value you can take, right? And then we have this instruction pthread create. Then this is the structure we have to address of the structure, this structure, right? Thread structure we have created. Okay, sorry, this is a thread structure. So it will have various elements, and then one is maybe one which we'll use now is called thread number. There will be other which we'll see in this example, right? Second parameter is null. It means that we don't want to specify attributes of the, and then this is the pointer to a function square. Okay, so this is a pointer to this function. Okay, and fourth is pointer to the parameter we want to pass. Okay, so so x is 3. We want to pass on the pointer to this x, right? Okay, so and then after that we are calling sleep function. We will now do nothing for 1 second. Of course, we will remove this and then run this loop. I is I is equal to 1, 0 to 100, it is 0 to 99, and it will print this one. Okay, and then once it completes this, it waits for other thread to complete. Okay, now this is, note that there are first thread or main program which is an execution which, and here when it execute this one, another thread is created, both are running, but this one, the first one, main, has executed pthread join. Okay, so it means some point it will wait until this thread completes, other thread completes, let's say it's completing here, and then this this thread can start execution. Okay, it means that all these instruction, later instruction will be executed at the end when second thread has write. Okay, and what is second thread doing? Okay, the basically this is a square function which is taking the value of n. N is coming from argument, right? This n becomes, now if you specify x is equal to 3, n becomes 3. Okay, and then you are executing this loop 3 times, 0, 1, 2, and printing square value of that. Okay, so it will print 0, then 1 and 4. Okay, so you understand, so this is main thread, this code is corresponding to second thread. Okay, and the synchronization between two is happening through join. Okay, so now I have, for you, I've spent actually more than 2-3 hours something to create this diagram. So let's see how it works. Any question up to this point?
Sir, could you repeat the previous slide once again?
Yeah. Okay, so just hold on for some time, right? Let's complete the discussion, because here is a step by step what we are doing.
Okay, sir.
Okay, and then and don't get too much into how pointers are working, just try to understand semantics. Okay, just to understand what exactly is happening, and then look at the syntax of all this when you do the programming. So right now we are discussing what actually is happening. Okay, and you know whether pointers have defined correctly and how pointers are passing value. Don't get into, try to understand it. If you don't, then when you do programming you will understand it, right? So all right, so we are here. We say that we will use pointers to represent where exactly in program we are in. This is thread 1 or main program. We will start execution from here. So when main is executed, the OS will create process image, right? Like this. So right now we are showing only part of the process image, is basically stack part. Okay, what will happen next? Now it will execute this. It means then it will create a structure which is thread small t, and then right now it's not defined, so it will just create a structure. Okay, the structure will of course have an element which is thread number. Okay, now next when okay, let's move here, next slide. So the control comes here, so another variable is created here, right, in the stack, and then value is set to be 3. This is basically location. One memory location is created corresponding to integer, and then the value place is 3. But here we are depicting this as the name of the variable also. This only for convenience. What is the next thing that will happen? This thread 0, I mean basically main is in execution. Okay, now next is that it will connect, arrow will now come to interesting part here. Pthread create, now we are passing these 3 parameters. Okay, so this of course is already been created here. Okay, okay, because when we were here it was created, and now OS will start filling the values for this in this one, right? And second is null, of course. Third is a square function. Okay, so now OS will create another stack which will call as thread 1, and then it corresponds to this function square, right? We're just naming it here, and then it will have some arguments, and these arguments, okay, will be corresponding to this one. Okay, all right. So because here what happens that control now comes here, OS will look at this code and creates whatever the values are, whatever the variables are here. So it's when it sees this parameter arg, okay, so it creates a pointer here. Arg is nothing but pointer of type void. So this arg is created, and when this is executed, then this basically value of x is passed on, okay, which is 3 actually. Okay, and basically pointer to 3 is passed on, and this pointer comes here. Okay, so arg value, arg will point to this x is equal to 3. Okay, using, all right. Okay, okay, so let's see what happens next. So control has come here, okay, and all these things have happened. Okay, now what is going to be next thing? Let's see now. Okay, note at this, before this, even one interesting thing is that although this has created this stuff, but now scheduler has to schedule next thread. So at this point, let's assume the scheduler has scheduled the next thread. Okay, the newly created thread, the execution will start here. Okay, so now we can see that pointer here, we are assigning pointer to arg. Okay, so it's sorry, start. Okay, basically what we are doing, we are defining pointer here, okay, which is nothing but address of arg. You understand it? Okay, so when we define a pointer using this one int star, actually this is a pointer definition. Okay, and that pointer value is equal to arg. Okay, so essentially arg is nothing but pointer to x, so the address here and the value here of pointer both are the same. Basically both are pointing to x. Okay, so let's move to the next statement. So up to this point is very clear. So okay, so now value of n here is, so n is a variable here that is created. Its value is equivalent to something where this pointer is pointing to, which is 3. So n becomes 3. Okay, so now look at the way stack is changing, right? Now let's assume scheduler continues to run here. Why scheduler, sorry, this thread continues to run here because scheduler cannot schedule main function because of this sleep, because this has gone into sleep. So, and 1 second is a big number. Okay, now it will do this calculation. Okay, so this loop will run and will value of I will change from 0, 1, 2. Okay, and then it will print here in output, that's in terminal, some values. So now FSQ first iteration value of FSQ 0, so it will complete 0, 1, 4 again, right? And then after this, okay, before this even you would see that OS has put, the moment this thread is scheduled, OS has put value here as a run. Okay, so thread 1 is created, so this thread number 1. So here the structure will contain thread number and also contain its status. Okay, so now when it has exited, it will, now this thread completion is over and these 3 are printed. Okay, and then 1 second is elapsed, then control will come here to the next statement, and now note that this thread stack corresponding to thread 1 is gone. Okay, so now what is the next thing? Now this loop will start execution. It will start printing main. So this is a loop up to 99, so it will start printing 0, 1, 2, 3 main up to 99. Okay, completion, and now the join function will happen. Okay, now this actually is meaningless right now, but this thread will block, so main thread will block until this completes. Now this second thread is already completed, so it will immediately come out of it. Okay, and then print this join completed. So now this last thing is printed here. Okay, all right. Okay, any question?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir,
Yeah, I'm not able to hear you.
sir, could you tell me the use of the last line pthread join thread common?
See, we in processor also we have used join, right? So basically, this is a synchronization point. Now, in this example, if you so next thing of course I have to run the code is there with me, but and then next thing I want to do is that remove this sleep and then see how 2 threads in in what way 2 threads run. See, join is that main function is executing this first thread 0. Okay, it will stop execution. Okay, it will stop execution or it will block itself until this thread, the other thread which is specified by it is thread 1. So for example, it would say, for example, yeah, so this thread, okay, the basically thread 1, because this thread here is specified thread 1 completes. It means that we wait until it completes. Scheduler will not move further. It may schedule it, but it may not, the program control may not move further until this thread completes. It means that all this work is over. Only then remaining statement can be executed. Okay, that's the idea. So join completed will be executed only when T1 completes. Now here in this example, because of sleep, we have made sure that T1 completes earlier. Okay, if you remove sleep, then you can see it's not as simple as that what we have seen here. Okay, so for example, if I run this, just a minute, I will just take 1 minute. Okay, let me clear. Okay, yeah, if I run this, so you can see that okay, first thread completes, thread which has been created, that completes, it prints, okay, f is equal to 0, 1, 4. And then this second main executes here. Okay, so this is just a minute. Okay. Okay. So this is what, and at the end it will print join completed. What I am running. Okay. All right. Okay. So there's some anyway. Okay. So that's how. So if you remove this, for example, sleep. If I remove this, and then let me just okay, let me just save it. Okay, and then run this. Okay, we'll have to compile it. Oh, okay. Okay, then run this. Okay, then we can see that, okay, there's a little difference actually. Okay, all right. So now you see that this main has completed earlier.
Actually, we can't see the execution screen.
You can't see it? Oh,
No,
I'm
sir.
sorry. Oh, okay. So, okay, anyway, we'll come. I'm so sorry. I have not switched terminal. So you should have told me earlier. Okay, so we'll rerun it on Tuesday. Okay. All right. Or you have time now? You don't have, na?
We have no lecture after this.
You have a lecture after this, right?
No, we don't have lecture after this.
You don't have lecture. So let me then show you, right? Just hold on for a minute then. Just hold on. I will show it to you. Just let me switch to then. Okay, new share. Just a minute. Okay, let me go to terminal then. Okay, you can see it now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let me. This is the code. Okay, this is the code, right? Okay, this is thread, main thread, and this is the on top. You can see the thread created, the code corresponding thread created. Okay, all right. So now let me. I have removed the, wait, the sleep thing, sleep API. Okay, now you can see it now. Terminal.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let me compile this. It's called th1. So let me see, just a minute. So okay, I'm compiling now. Okay, it's better to create a makefile, but since I'm doing only one program, so let me do it this way. So GCC th1c -o t, and output name is th1. So let me compile this. It's good. It's compiled because I have cleaned up the errors earlier. So now let me run this. Okay, so I'm running this, right? So what according to you will print first? Output corresponding to main one, which will print main 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, or the earlier one, square one, or for the second thread, square one, etc. Which will print square one, right? Why?
Yes. So we are using create, so the thread will shift to that thread.
No, not necessary, right? Because right now, see, if scheduler schedules the first one, the main first, and because a very small program, then it may run it first, right? Let's see, or what it does, right? Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. Just a minute. Okay, what has done? Okay, so it has executed the main first. Okay, and in the time slot it could finish execution of this. Okay, then it has gone to its second, then it executed second thread. Okay, and then it has ended. Only when second thread is complete, then join happened, because second thread has to complete before this main program exits. So now join is completed this way. Now let's introduce again here. Where was it? Okay, here I think. Okay, just a minute. Here we can introduce sleep. 1 second. Okay, it means that now okay. Here sleeping will not make much sense because by the time printing will happen, right? So we can put sleep statement here after this. It is now this is a very big, 1 second is what I mean, it's almost like 100 million cycles would have gone by that, right? Okay. So it means now we are putting a huge, time or sleep time for thread 1 on main thread. Okay, it means that our scheduler has no option but to schedule other thread. So okay, let me save it. Okay, hope is saved. Now let me compile it. Okay, let me run it. Yeah, okay, you could see some delay in between, right? So now what he has done? Oh, it's still doing main printing for
No, sir.
main.
It is doing the square, but you just come up to the first one execution.
Oh, okay. Okay. Let me just clear it. Just a minute. Okay. All right. Now let me run it again. Okay. Yes. So it has first run the square one. Then you could see there is a gap, time lag, right? And then it has started running this one. And then of course the first one has completed. So there's no, main thread will not wait and join completed here. If you increase this sleep time to further maybe 10 seconds, then you can still see the more. So compile, run. You can see there is a 10 seconds gap. Oh, it's not gone. Yeah, it's done. After 10 seconds, it started printing. Okay, any question?
Sir, when we are not putting the sleep statement, then why scheduler is always scheduling main thread first and then scheduling the another?
So it depends on the scheduler. Okay, so scheduler can schedule anything it wants based on some scheduling algorithm.
So if the sleep statement is not there, then we can't sure about how the output looks like.
Yes. So one thing you can be certain that thread that is created will finish before main thread completes. Okay, that's the only thing that we have assured through this one. This I have introduced because I thought, I will display you, how you can manage thread execution. Okay, so we can remove it again and then see, there is a possibility that now newly created thread executes first. Okay, so now I have saved. Let me move up, clear.
Sir,
yeah.
Sir, if we increase the size from 100 to 10,000, means in the for loop, then I think we will get
yeah, because it's again very small operation, very small operation. 10,000. Let's do it now. Let's do it. Okay. How many zeros? 1000, 10,000. Okay,
Yes,
let me
10,000.
let's see. Okay, we have saved it. Let me just then, we are in terminal. Let me just clean it up. Okay, let me compile it. Run it. Up. Okay. Still it's doing the same thing, right? You can see that, because this is what I mean, it will be done in very short time. So you can actually, if this task is very, very big, then of course you can see mixture of the both. And let me just remove sleep here. There is no sleep. There is no...
So what if we use sleep in square function also?
Pardon, just a minute, just a minute. Okay, what you're telling?
Sir, what if we use sleep function in square also? Square
In
function.
what? In what?
Square function. The square function.
Yeah, you can do that. Let's do it. Square function here, right? So what
Like
place
in both the sides, in square function and main function, both. So does it switches?
Yeah, so you'll have to see that what is being executed first. Then it also depends on scheduler, what gets executed first, right? So you want to put it here, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's put sleep of 1 second, right? And of course semicolon will come here.
So in main also, if we use.
Yeah, that will not help, right? Because what are you trying to do?
So, if we use sleep function in main, then what is going to happen is instead of running that for loop for I equal to 0 to 10,000, it runs that square function. And if we use sleep function in,
Oh, you mean to say here, right? You put it here. Okay,
Yes, sir.
you can put, but I don't think it will make any. Okay, and then give, let's assume you want to put 1 second, right?
yes, sir.
Okay, let's save. Okay, come here, clear, run. I'll compile, then run. Also, okay. What happened? He says run main first.
Yes,
Because,
sir.
and then so that's interesting thing about thread is that you'll have to really focus enough to find out what you're doing. Ultimately you are asking threads to do something, and only thing that's not in your control is scheduler. Okay, then you have to manage, right? If what happens if scheduler schedules the second thread first or later, and intermittent way also, right? Interleaved way. All right, so I will suggest that please go through PPT again, and then try to make semantics out of it. This is interesting stuff, right? And we'll give you some exercises around it. Yeah, 4,
Sir,
5. Yeah.
Sir, if main is too long and in between if context switch happen, so
Yeah.
sir, if it is executing main thread and in between if context switch happen, then the square will be print in middle.
Yes, of course. It happened with me. It happened. Right, it totally
Okay,
depends upon schedule. See, there may be, what we are seeing only 2 threads, right? There may be another 100 threads running in my systems, right? Or 1000 threads processor, and which are the context switch, which you don't see it here. Okay, because so there's a possibility.
So sir, the square will be printed in between.
Yes. Square can be
Okay.
printed in between. Now, if you don't want to do that, then you have to do all this join kind of statement, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, okay, thank you. So see you on Tuesday. If you want, I can go through another example. Otherwise, I think I will of course send you some programs that you can execute. which I have created for this class, but we don't have time now. Okay, all right, thank you, bye.